What's good, YouTube? Now, given recent events, I believe I had to say something about this. Whether it's warranted or not, it's not the issue, nor concern. But I am going to address the issue of Sandbox Politics. Now, I know I made a previous reference to it in my first video, but given the circumstances, a little clarity is desired. So here we go. Imagine a classroom within a school has been let out for recess. Now, these children in the school, as they're let out, they go into their individual groups. You have some playing dodgeball, kickball, monkey bars, jungle gym, the swings, some just playing out in the field for no reason, and you have the sandbox. Now it's a good sized sandbox, and some of these groups get together and they start creating whatever in the sand. You know, they take a little water and do what they can to sit there and build what they aspire to have. But then you have one of the kids who decides to throw a rock at one of the opposing kids. Now this group that's been hit with the rock is not feeling that. So they decide to kick some sand back at that person who started throwing the rock. Now, while all this nonsense is going on, some of the other groups somehow get involved, whether it's miscellaneous debris or the fact that one of the opposing groups ducked and allowed a bucket of water to douse one of the groups. So before you know it, we have a complete clusterfuck in the sandbox. There's nothing but wet sand, debris, and everything else going on. What we don't notice is all the other kids outside the sandbox occasionally stop and observe what's going on. They hear the commotion. Some respond in kind, like this. Look at those silly niggas. Wow, what's really going on? Other similar responses, even some shaking their heads. But then there's some other groups that point the finger and laugh at the children in the sandbox. So here's the breakdown to the scenario. Now, no disrespect to my peers, because when it comes to the sand, and I use that as a reference, when you have the right materials, be it knowledge, experience, and a sense of yourself applied to this, you can build and create many things. It'd been different if this group had worked together, but obviously when it comes to the whole division, and when something so minor and uncalled for is thrown into the lot, you can see how nothing gets done, but a great mess is made. You take a look at all the kids that allow themselves to get in this trouble. These kids had clean clothes at one time, but now they don't. Some are wet. Some are wet and sandy. There's a whole bunch of sand outside the box. Notice the little kids laughing outside the box. The ones that knew how to play together. Notice how they're laughing at all the kids in the sandbox. Now, I do not point fingers, but all I'm saying is recess is over. We have much more important things that demand our attention. This sandbox I speak of as well can be used in this medium. Everyone has a respective voice, because as I've said, all of us have different walks of life, different points of view, valuable information that may help others, if not themselves. Now you see, I'm not going to identify my place in the schoolyard. But aside from the dust and sand being kicked in my direction inadvertently, I know how to brush it off. I know how to entertain my time. If I set my mind to something and something stands in my way, I find other options. But when it comes to these sandbox politics, I gotta tell you, this ain't it. This ain't the way. We can either work together, build something positive, and if not gain the admiration of our peers, at least the respect for our creativity and our combined efforts, or we'll continue to look like a bunch of muddy, sand-covered, drenched children being the butt of the joke with the rest of the class. This is Rona Soul signing off. Speak your mind, because this is an open medium. I welcome all comments and suggestions.